Hi, my name is Knoll, and I am a third year music education and music performance major at Bowling Green State University. Today, I'll be sharing my honors project titled Exploring Moroccan Music Through Experiential Learning, which I completed over the past year under the mentorship of Dr. Christopher Witolski and Dr. Lisa Grutenhagen. As a music educator, I value a comprehensive and well rounded music education that is inclusive and dynamic, an education that introduces students to the global world they live in and fosters compassion and understanding for cultures different from their own. However, I did not fully understand how I could provide that for my students and how to do so in a respectful and sensitive way that did not other or appropriate the culture I was attempting to honor. That desire to learn more about teaching world musics and representation in the classroom drove me to pursue answers through an interdisciplinary project that combines music education and ethnomusicology. Why did I pick Morocco as my culture of focus? Well, in the winter of 2020, I was granted the opportunity to study abroad for 3 weeks in Morocco, exploring all the wonders of Fez, Marrakesh, the Sahara Desert, and more. Of course, I took advantage of the opportunity to learn more about performing and teaching world musics through this experiential and immersive way. In the fall semester, I reviewed scholarly literature on teaching world musics and representation, and during my study abroad experience in Morocco, I studied Moroccan instruments, took lessons from Moroccan musicians, transcribed segments of music, and upon returning to the States, I created a unit overview that applied concepts learned and skills acquired from my study to the general music classroom. Throughout my examination of Morocco's culture, musical traditions, and teaching world musics in the classroom, I had two guiding questions that directed my energy. First, as a music educator, how can I develop the knowledge and skill set needed to represent and teach Moroccan music in a sensitive and respectful and impactful way that provides students experiential learning opportunities? Second, how can I apply the knowledge and skills acquired through my research and experiences abroad to the classroom? My overarching goals for the project as a whole included the following. First, to develop a strong understanding of teaching world musics through performance and fieldwork. Second, to construct a unit overview that incorporates deep exploration of Moroccan music and musical traditions for a sixth grade general music classroom. And finally, to transcribe and arrange Moroccan melodies and rhythms to be performed as an introductory and final project as a class. I started my journey of exploration with a literature review that focused on learning more about teaching world musics and representation. My examination of research on teaching world music in the classroom started with an exploration of how world musics have been integrated into the curriculum of music classrooms. In 1953, the International Society of Music Education, or ISME, was founded soon after World War II. According to Sang-Mi Kang, music educator and researcher, the efforts of ISME emphasized the need for disseminating world music materials and joint collaboration between ethnomusicologists, composers, and music education practitioners. From this point, the desire to learn more about teaching world musics grew in the field of music education, evident by the increase in publications regarding world musics. Prominent examples of these publications include Music in World Cultures, published in October of 1972, which discussed the basic information of various cultures, the need for these musics in school settings, and the resources available to students. The Multicultural Imperative, written in May 1983, was another work that touched on four key elements of teaching world musics: the multicultural imperative, educational tactics, tools for teaching music education, tools for teaching world musics, and recommended resources for educators. In 1990, the Music Educators National Conference, or MENC, hosted the Multicultural Symposium alongside the Society of Ethnomusicology, the Smithsonian Institution's Office of Folklife Program, and MENC's Society of General Music. The Smithsonian not only shared the importance of world musics in the classroom, but also provided teaching methods, repertoire, and resources to make world musics accessible to educators. In her chapter, World Music Pedagogy, where music meets culture in classroom practice, Patricia Sheehan Campbell, an ethnomusicologist and music educator who teaches at the University of Washington, explains that often teachers seem under-equipped to facilitate experiences in music outside their training. Campbell shared that studying world musics and cultures has increased young students' compassion for people and their challenges, especially those of marginalized groups. In her chapter, Patricia Campbell explains that world music pedagogy aims at the global expansion of perspectives on music and culture and seeks to answer these questions. What meaning does music hold within the culture, and how does the music best fit into systems and situations of musical education and training? World music pedagogy involves a five-phase process that leads to deep listening. The first level is inactive listening, where students' ears are directed and focused on musical elements and structures. The second level is engaged listening, where students are actively listening while performing and creating in response to what they hear. This can also include singing a melody, patting rhythm, playing a percussion part, or moving to a dance pattern. The third is inactive listening, where students are recreating stylistically accurate music they are studying through intensive listening of every nuance. The fourth level is creating world music, where the student invents new music in the style of a musical mode through composition and improvisation. The final stage is integrating world music, which involves the examination of music as it connects to cultures and as it illustrates a wide variety of subjects like history, geography, language and literature, sciences, and performance. The final stage connects the music to real-world applications. Ricardo D. Tremillos, contributor to Ted Solis's Performing Ethnomusicology, discusses three primary types of world music ensemble teachers. Tremillos defines the first type as the culture bearers. In his framing, those are educators who embody immediate authenticity. They are insiders who culturally know. Culture bearers often look like the native and provide visual credibility. The most basic example of a culture bearer is a native teacher. Interestingly, Patricia Campbell speaks about culture bearers in her own work, highlighting that they are often tapped as knowledge and skilled practitioners and often assist in classrooms upon request from teachers. Culture bearers can be valuable resources to invite into the classroom for a multitude of reasons, including helping to direct performances, assemble presentations, lead discussions, and offer workshops. Campbell emphasizes that they provide enhancement to the teaching of world music in the classroom. The second type of educator is ethnomusicologists. Ethnomusicologists tend to use verbal explanations and conceptualization to communicate both musical and cultural knowledge. Their knowledge and activities are authentic as they are heavily researched and supported by fieldwork. The delivery, however, is biased towards Western pedagogical techniques. Ethnomusicologists are also able to anticipate potential areas of confusion for their students while teaching the content and sharing the culture. Lastly, they supply their own personal experiences and insights about the general culture and specifics of the tradition. They can share positive messages of the culture to students in the U.S. and be competent in the music tradition. Because they do not embody the culture in the same manner as a native teacher, these individuals must establish their credibility in other ways. In Tremillos' framing, the third type of educator is the foreign musician, whose primary experience with the host culture has been training and living as a performer. The best way for these individuals to establish credibility is to establish a performance career within the host society. Public school educators do not fit into Tremillos' categories cleanly. Music educators often utilize the work and recordings emanated by ethnomusicologists. Collaboration between educators and ethnomusicologists can result in thoughtfully designed experiences that expose students to a wide spectrum of the world of music and allows them to truly understand the culture of study through their musical experiences. An area of relevance when discussing world music is authenticity and accurate representation. Kane discusses the common practice of westernizing world musics through piano accompaniments, Western-style harmonies, inappropriate translations of texts, and other modifications that are not fitting or accurate of the culture. This brought about an important conversation of authenticity when sharing these cultures with students. A.J. Palmer, author of World Musics in Music Education, The Matter of Authenticity, describes absolute authenticity as practice that exists under these 5 conditions. First, it is performed by the culture's practitioners. Second, it uses instruments as specified by the composer or group creating the music. Third, it uses the correct language associated with the culture. Fourth, it is performed for an audience made up of the culture's members. And finally, it is performed in a setting normal to the culture. Therefore, it is practically impossible to achieve absolute authenticity in a public school setting. Teachers can create as authentic of an experience for students as possible while acknowledging that they are actually engaging in an inauthentic performance. Palmer suggests that teachers should guide students through critical analysis and evaluation of authentic music created by the culture practitioners compared to the attempted inauthentic music created in the classroom and how that alters the musical experience. Allow the inauthenticity of the performance to serve as a teachable moment for students. The final crucial area of study within my review of relevant scholarship was about considerations that educators make when teaching world musics. In Solis's Performing Ethnomusicology, David Harnish, performer and scholar of Balinese music, suggests that many non-Western music performance teaching happens by rote, orally, unlike some similar practices in Western classical music. Harnish places his instructional focus on imitation. He will play a vocal or rhythmic phrase that his students replicate. Ali Jahid Raisi, a Lebanese musician and teacher and member of the Arab American community, also addressed a multifaceted approach of teaching world music that combines the traditions of both classical styles that are common in music schools and non-classical styles from around the world, while not sacrificing crucial elements of either. Raisi suggests that teachers consider the following when constructing lesson outlines. First is know the strengths and weaknesses of yourself as the teacher and of the students as learners. Teach to those strengths. Second, present the basic musical knowledge to your students in a way that students can assimilate to their own culture. It is best to move from known to unknown and allow students a more natural and gradual transition and introduction into the new culture. Finally, choose repertoire that excites you. If you are not excited by or interested in the content you are teaching, you cannot expect your students to be excited or interested themselves. You must be the model, and teaching them something you are passionate about will help them find their own passion and purpose in the activity. Once my literature review was complete, I conducted research of Moroccan melodic and rhythmic modes and musical traditions of Morocco. I traveled to Morocco, where I studied under Moroccan musicians and immersed myself fully into the culture. Upon returning, I designed the unit overview. Part of my research included learning Arab instruments, such as the nai and the bendir. The nai is a rim-blown flute, and the bendir is a frame drum, both prevalent in Arab and North African music traditions. I utilized Music in Egypt by Scott Marcus and Focus, Music and Religion of Morocco by Dr. Witolski to inform my research on the music of the region. I gained a deeper understanding of North African and Middle Eastern melodic and rhythmic modes through my performance and tactile exploration. During the January 2020 winter session, I traveled abroad to Morocco for a course on music and healing that was directed by Dr. Christopher Witolski. During my time in Morocco, I lived with a host family, studied music and healing traditions at the American Language Institute of Fez, Alif, Riyadh, observed and participated in a variety of musical performances, and immersed myself fully into the culture and daily life of Morocco. From my time in Morocco, I gained valuable insight into the role of music in everyday life in Morocco, how music is taught and shared within a community, and the intricacies of Moroccan musical structures and instrumental techniques. While in Fez, Morocco, I had the opportunity to study the nira and the bendir under two professional Moroccan musicians, both members of the Hamadcha Sufi Brotherhood. The nira is the Moroccan flute, played much like a recorder but with different sounding pitches. The lessons were invaluable, providing insight into Moroccan pedagogy and a deep understanding of Moroccan melodic and rhythmic modes. I observed the teachings of both instructors, including their method of instruction, assessment, and corrections. With the consent of both musicians, I recorded audio of all lessons and demonstrations done by the performers, which provided a treasure trove of content to explore upon returning to the States. With my lessons recorded, I could reference them at any time. Once I returned to the States, I began transcribing rhythms and melodies learned from my lessons so they could be shared and taught to fellow musicians and or to students. The process of transcribing was tedious but rewarding. I ultimately transcribed 2 passages of music. I transcribed the rhythms performed during my bendir lessons, all in groupings of 5 beats, ultimately pulling six different patterns from my lessons. The second transcription project featured a popular melodic Moroccan melody and drum accompaniment. The melodic transcription is considerably more difficult than the rhythmic dictation. However, it is an extremely valuable experience. It gave me a greater understanding of musical structures. These transcriptions were utilized in the unit overview for transcription activities through the unit, and aligning with my overarching goals for the project, serves as an introductory and conclusion to our unit study of Morocco. My immersion within the Moroccan culture and my observations of a number of musical traditions inform my perspective on the different roles of music in Morocco. The experience also helped me to develop an understanding of Moroccan musical culture, traditions, and pedagogy. As is the case in my own experience, music is prevalent in Moroccan culture and daily life. It contributes to community building, healing, education, and more. One of the most prevailing uses of music is within the practices of religion. Religion plays a vital role in the culture of Morocco, as evident by the call of prayer ringing throughout the city at its designated times. The emphasis on religion influences the education system and musical practices. The Quran is introduced to Moroccan students at an early age, as it is deeply intertwined in their education. Much of the music of Morocco openly promotes the beliefs and practices of Islam. A prime example is Andalusian music, a popular form of traditional music in Morocco. Many musical traditions, like Andalusian or Gnawa musical styles, that I adopt within my unit overview and plan to continue to include in my future teaching, carry devotional messages. One piece can be spiritual and popular music simultaneously, a practice that is common in Western culture, as demonstrated by the popularity of contemporary Christian pop music. My private lessons in Morocco were the most fruitful element of my study. From those experiences, I gained a wealth of insights into musical pedagogy and melodic and rhythmic technique in Morocco, which prompted the awesome challenge of transcription. During my lessons, my instructors would model a melodic or rhythmic phrase, and I would be tasked with repeating it back to them. At first, it was frustrating to imitate their difficult melodies, even at a basic level. While it is worth noting that this setup was fairly artificial and inaccurate in the way in which Moroccans truly experience and learn music, it provided a glimpse into the ways in which music is taught and learned in Morocco. The music of Morocco is learned through repeated exposure and experimentation of the performer taught by rote, very reminiscent of Harnish's and Racy's method of teaching world musics through imitation. Written notation or Western notational systems were absent in all musical performances and spaces I observed. Musical performances that I experienced showed me a great deal about the content of these styles, or the context of these styles, and the types of social interactions within ensembles that bring them to life. The ensembles were often heavily percussion focused, featuring multiple different types of percussive instruments. More often than not, the percussion section greatly outnumbered the wind instruments. However, every instrument served a distinct role within the ensemble. For example, by holding their instruments on their shoulders, drummers were able to maintain the tempo while moving easily during a performance. Another percussion instrument is the korkeb, a set of iron castanets whose performers provided complex rhythms and symbolized the sounds of chains on African slaves. The korkeb is prevalent in Gnawa music, a genre of devotional music like the Andalusian music mentioned earlier. The individuals who play wind instruments and often perform heavily ornamented melodies that are widely known and associated with spiritual texts. Due to the lack of notation, I noticed an emphasis on improvisation and ornamentation during musical performances. While it was apparent that every performance had a set structure or order with defined melodies, each one differed from the inclusion of improvisatory or ornamental playing from the performers and audience members. Audiences play an essential and participatory role in performances. For example, clapping is a prominent method of crowd engagement. Sometimes listeners clap alongside the musicians, sometimes they layer new rhythms that contrast what the musicians are performing. Dance and movement are also popular forms of audience engagement. It's common, even expected, for audience members to embody the music and show how it moves them. Music without movement is uncommon and problematic in certain Moroccan musical traditions. The musicians and the audiences are in constant communication. The performance is holistic and interactive, meaning that no two performances will ever be the same. I created the unit overview because I wanted to share the knowledge and skills that I acquired in a meaningful way. I learned about Moroccan culture and music through experiential learning. My experiential learning began with my travel abroad to Morocco and continued as I created a unit where I could teach about my own experiences and knowledge of Morocco through experiences and action, where students can be active and engaged participants in the learning through performance and composition. I wanted to learn more about teaching world music and specifically about long-term lesson planning. Creating this unit overview provided a great opportunity to fuse these topics in a meaningful and cohesive way. Finally, I wanted to create a tool that could be applicable to my future as an educator. With the knowledge acquired through research and the construction of this unit overview, I can translate this work to any topic or subject. I structured this unit overview to span over a 9-week grading period for a 6th grade general music classroom that met every day of the school week for 35 minutes. The Moroccan Music Unit will allow students to explore the culture and musical practices of Morocco through performance, listening, movement, and creation. Week 1 will serve as an introduction to the culture and the unit, starting with a crash course in Moroccan rhythms and instruments, while creating music in an ensemble setting. Throughout the unit, students will listen to and watch performances of Moroccan musicians, learn and perform melodies and rhythms of Moroccan instruments, improvise and compose within the style of Moroccan musical traditions, and conduct their own research about the role music plays in Moroccan culture. At the end of the unit, students will synthesize knowledge and newly developed skills into a final comprehensive performance. The overall format of the unit overview is based upon a unit plan on the Mbira created by Alyssa Lufman. The unit overview I constructed includes the following: unit objectives, the Ohio Department of Education standards for both 6th grade music and 6th grade social studies, assessment tools in the form of quizzes and rubrics, materials and budgets needed to execute the unit, a justification for why it is pertinent to share this culture with students, a weekly breakdown of the unit, materials for activities such as videos, composition and transcription lessons, improvisation guidelines, and other lesson materials. While many elements of my unit overview are reminiscent of Lufman's template, I expanded the unit overview with the inclusion of lesson slideshows, performance videos, rubrics, and other materials to thoroughly flesh out the unit. The past year has been truly life-changing. From my travel to Morocco to completing this unit overview and everything in between, I have learned so much about myself and a topic that I am so passionate about: teaching music. When I reflect on my overarching goals for my honors project, I am proud to say I was able to meet and exceed them with the work I have done over the past year. My experiences have changed my perspective of world music, representation, and music education, and have helped me to grow as a scholar, a musician, and an educator. I feel confident in my ability to transfer the knowledge and skills acquired from my experiences to other world musics and other areas of study within the field of music education. I have developed a deep passion for experiencing, understanding, and sharing different cultures through music. My exploration of Morocco has opened my eyes to the pedagogical and personal value of exploring world musics in the classroom and solidified my belief in experiential learning as a tool for understanding and sharing such unique and wonderfully diverse cultures. Thank you so much for your time today. My name is Knoll and my email is on the slide. If you have any questions about my experience, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much.